Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. Nicholas Sacco here, your host again. This is episode 10 of season 7, or episode 183, if you are counting from the beginning. And we managed our way to a return to the winners list, defeating Fremantle by 14 points over in Perth on Thursday night, without some big names. But we look ahead to a nice stretch of matches back in Melbourne to come over the next few months. On this episode, you'll hear us chat through all the key parts of our win against the Dockers and highlight the individuals who stood tall on the night. We get some of your hilarious reactions thanks to SpeakPie, and we chat to our next guest, the crowd competition winner, and conclude as always with our VFL and VFLW report. And I have the original trio here in the back chat studio, Marcus Callahan and Luke Humphries. Boys, I know it always feels like an eternity away when we have these Thursday night clashes, but when you're able to pick up the 4 points in them, it doesn't take too long to bring back all the memories and to see us return to the winners list in that fashion, knowing some of the factors that were surrounding us coming into the game. Marcus, it was nice to get that win.
Nico, Lukey, a few trepidations when the teams came out and we saw some of our big guns rested, but what an effort by the Pies to go and get the W after a 5-day break. Never easy travelling west, but I tell you what, with 2 more trips interstate between now and the end of the home and away season, Lukey, it's a great position to be in.
Yeah, we've done well to manage what we've had in front of us fixture-wise to start the season, and to be in the position that we are in, I think is an incredibly grateful position now that we're 7-2 and have managed some of the harder interstate trips, and we haven't faced any of the bottom sides, I guess, West Coast and North yet. So I know those matchups end up being sort of the tougher ones for us sometimes, but we've done well so far, and you'd be pretty pleased heading forward over the next few weeks.
Absolutely. So much to look forward to when we unpack this game. Before we do go on, might be, for those watching, of course, on YouTube, slowly we're starting to get the decorations through. Thanks to my brother Adrian for donating his little frame there of the original Collingwood logo. So that was nice to see.
And we want a bit of a story time behind some of these badges, Nico.
Well, when badges were popular and the craze was strong, well, we collected them from a pretty young age. You can see some superstars there: Nathan Buckley, Scott Pendlebury, Travis Cloak, Chris Tarrant. And then Marty Clark just somehow managed to find his way in. I don't know why that one's up there, but even Reece Shaw, Daisy was always a popular pick. So maybe we can slowly start to build that scarf with some more current day badges.
Who was your most random one as a youngster, Lukey?
You put me on the spot.
Mine was Ryan Loney.
Ryan Loney.
37. Yes. Didn't mind his business. Ryan be a bit of a Clinton Young, but a better version of back in the day. Much, much better.
He only kicked goals one way, Ryan Loney, and that was on the run from over 60 metres out. Well, what about you, Lukey, if you had a random one?
I'm trying to think. I wasn't a massive badge collector,
No.
I guess. I probably still am not, but maybe something I should start to do a bit more of.
All right,
and we can get a few more scarves up here with some more badges up there.
Absolutely. Well, if anyone's listening or watching and wants to add to the contribution behind us, feel free to let us know, and I'm sure you boys will start to bring some things over the next few weeks. And also your polo, Marcus, is also one that I'm very intrigued about, because that's a new one to me.
Yeah. Do you not have one?
Not like I've got the jumper of that version, but not a polo.
I could have sworn you had something from like early days when we did the pod before YouTube in the video.
That was a Primus. Late 90s, early 2000s. So
that's
maybe I'll bring that out again.
Primus is the sponsor.
Yes. Maybe I'll bring that out again. But that looks very impressive.
Yeah, picked it up. Now we've got cameras and our faces are on the interwebs. It's all about the Collingwood merch as well. So I'm on the train, Nico.
Very good. All right, let's start with the pie that caught my eye then from Thursday night's clash. We'll kick it off with you, Marcus.
Yeah, straight into it. We've talked about Geordie DeGoey and the injury cloud he's been under of late, fellas. Pie that caught my eye this week is Nick Dacos.
Okay.
And the reason he's caught my eye is because I actually wanted to get your boys' thoughts on, did he come into this game with the injury that he's carrying, or do you think that whatever he's got was established in the match? Because I'm really tossing and turving as to whether Nick has been carrying something for the last few weeks, and this game against the Dockers just really brought it to light.
Yeah, well, it felt he was carrying something throughout a lot of last year, it felt like, as well, and he's probably mastered and got through, and obviously having an off-season and rest for getting through that as well. But interesting. It felt like he was battling a few different things on the night, obviously with the hard tag and having to push through that. I feel like with a less experienced midfield, we struggled to counteract that tag at the same time, obviously without Pendles and still lowering his colours on the night. So how do you see that, Nico?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said on Channel 7 post-game that he was a little sore coming into the match, so there was already
it might have been just like one of those ones where it's like overkill. We've already got Pendles out, Checkers out, a couple others out. Is it overkill if we bring Nick out as well? And we'll see how he gets through. Is there potential that he doesn't play this week? I don't think so. It's turning out to be this week is going to be a massive game against the Crows. They're probably right up there with us as being one of the most informed sides in the comp, so I wouldn't say we're going to be resting too many this week.
But he did spend a lot of time forward for mine, so obviously it was a severe enough injury for him to not be able to have the impact he would have liked to in the midfield.
That felt a lot more to do with the tag. I know the injury was there as well, but it was one of the rare times we've seen Nick not be able to break a pretty hard tag on himself and inject himself into the game. He slowly got touches of the footy in that, but it felt like that was more of a shift to get him out of there and sort of trick the opposition into how do we stop this guy now once he's gone forward.
So what do you see in the short term if this is an injury that's going to be a bit lingering?
Well, once again, with the record of 7-2, I know against the Crows, and we've got some other big fixtures still to come before the bye, but I guess I'm just wondering, obviously Nick's young, he's fit, he can back it up, but what I saw was a player right on the fringes of whether he should be selected, irrespective of his calibre, because we've talked about how if you haven't got a fit squad and every player isn't bringing their best to the table, it can compromise what happens out on the field. Fortunately, we're going very well at the moment. We can cover those cracks, but I think if this gets deeper into the season, we might need to look at some sort of management.
Yeah, no doubt it's an interesting point. I think more so if we had have lost this match on Thursday, the first thing we're looking at is the issues we had in the midfield, losing the clearances by 13, and then that coincides with then bringing up the discussion about Nick and why he didn't, I guess, play the midfield time we were probably expecting him to. So, very interesting call. I like the way that we look at it because, as we've realised many times throughout the many episodes we've done of this pod, wins can sometimes hide a lot of these lingering issues behind the back end.
And let's hope that the issue for Nick is a shorter term type of injury. We know he's got grit and he'll try and work through it, but just a watch, as we have brought it up with De Goey, so will be important through the back half of the season. Pie that caught your eye, Luke?
I'm going to go with Shooter, Lockie Schultz. Nice. Numbers don't speak volumes, I guess, but I obviously had that big moment in, I think it was the last quarter when he got knocked out and just showing a lot of courage and toughness, and we commend him for that. But I think he had a few moments earlier than that, just big moments at times where he just needed to put his body on the line and take one for the team, and really pivotal times for us just to get on top in the game and sort of go on with the win. And obviously, you know, that big moment where he got knocked out in the middle of the ground and a few issues with whether the play should have been stopped and that kind of thing.
What was your opinion on that? Because Darcy Moore was pretty vocal post-game
about
how that all went out.
I will go into bat a little for the umpires. It was tough to find a moment where they could have, because we actually were away and running, and I can see from probably the umpire's perspective, they probably wanted the ball to just get away. Now, it got a bit close to him, but they did move it away, and I think when we got the next mark, I think it was inside 50.
Well, Jamie Elliott marked it inside 50.
That's when we should have just stopped everything. I don't know. Yeah, I feel for them because it was a tough predicament to be in to try and stop the play while it was flowing. But if it did get any closer, I think they had to have do something to stop that.
Given concussion is such a topical aspect of footy, I think that part of the management of those situations, it's up to the umpire, as I understand it, as to whether or not play stops. Yep. I think you've called it correctly in terms, like the ball was in the corridor, we turned it over, we went back the other way. So of course, there's probably part of us that are thinking great that the play went on, but even as a Collingwood supporter, I want to see Lockie Schultz put down on the ground by the physios and the doctors and stop the play, and just he could have fallen over and hit his head again. It didn't happen, but it was very, very close. He was seeing stars. He was trying to do the right thing by whatever's going on upstairs for him and getting off the ground as quickly as possible. But I just think that there's too much that can go wrong in the concussion arena at the moment, and the management of it after the injury happens is part of that.
And I think, like, obviously after the game, we know he was concussed and everything. As an umpire, they're not necessarily seeing that he's gone to ground again, they might not even know he's been hit in the
Got
head.
up.
Like,
Yeah.
it might be a leg injury to them, or they aren't watching every single player and what has actually happened in the moment. So I just think they were in an unfortunate situation where they probably look bad, but at the same time, our staff probably needed to manage it a little better in not letting him get up and then fall back to the ground, which was not a good look for anyone.
Yes.
Obviously, again, for them, they're in a tough position and you don't want to tell anyone how to do their jobs. But I think it was just an unfortunate situation. All's well that ended well. The play was away and no one was kind of impacted afterwards. But yeah, it's a tough one for everyone involved. And like, I agree with where Darcy was coming from, and he's going into bat for one of his teammates and you know, the health and safety of the players, and obviously being the president of the Players Association now, he's going to be a bit more vocal on these things. But at the same time, it's the mat. There's so much going on, and the umpires, we do go at them a bit, but they do have a hard time of it sometimes.
There were 4 of them though, Lukey. Surely one of them.
Yeah. I just think they're almost in a lose-lose. If they stopped while we're mid-play, then everyone gets up in arms. We potentially go down by a goal, and that's a goal-scoring opportunity that we've been stopped when we were away with the ball, and vice versa if it was the opposition. So, I don't know. You can't win either way, I don't think, on that one. But thankfully, we escaped any further.
I'd rather this umpiring dilemma than the one we had last year.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we'll take that.
yes.
And also, it's going to be a shame that we're going to lose Schultz again for probably a fortnight, unfortunately, after already having a limited run with the injury he had
work
prior.
out he misses 2 then?
Well, I don't know, because technically, us playing on a Thursday night, he should be back for the North Melbourne game, which means he would only
Crows on
miss
Saturday, and then what's days
Saturday night. So he should technically only miss 1 match, but I don't know if it has to be 2 games.
Don't know about his history of concussion, because I know that can play into the protocols in terms of whether there's been prior knocks to the head and that sort of thing, but let's hope that he takes the time that he needs. Again, we're in a fortunate position, so rushing him back, it's not as if we've got a really extensive injury list like last year, so fingers crossed Shooter's okay and sending him our best wishes.
Definitely.
But just quickly on his efforts, in the first quarter when we got jumped, he was the guy turning the ball over, getting it inside 50 quick. Jamie scored off of it, Bobby Hill scored off of it, so huge early on in the match and did a lot to set the tone for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, our small forwards were terrific, and we'll touch on that a little bit later on. But the player that caught my eye, and I've used him a few times this year, but we got to see him showcase his talents in a different light on Thursday night, and that was Darcy Cameron. We could go on about... We thought last year was a breakout year. This season certainly seems to be topping it. So he finished 19 disposals, 10 contested possessions, 3 tackles and 28 hit-outs. But it was his defensive work that really was in the spotlight this time. So he had 8 marks, 4 of those were intercept marks and 3 of them were contested. He had 6 intercept possessions in total. 6th in the competition for intercept marks for a ruckman. It's absurd
Unheard
numbers.
of.
Absurd. And look... help us a lot when Fremantle, we're pretty much picking out black and white players going inside forward 50, but you can't take away the effort that he's bringing to the table right now, and that he's a big reason why our defensive system is one of the best in the competition at the moment. That's also to go along with his efforts in the ruck, around the ground. He can have an impact up forward with his contested marking inside forward 50. You can hit the scoreboard. He's the ultimate player, and we need to do everything in our player. I'm begging you just to give him whatever he wants. Please.
Remember the last ruckman we did that for?
Blank check. Put any amount of dollars on it, because this man is an absolute superstar, and will be a bit biased, but he has to be in the running for an All-Australian spot in that ruck position, because he has just been incredible with the way he's going about his footy. Max Gawn, I know he's top of the tree, and that's fair enough, but DC boys has to be right up there.
Yeah, I think Sherry from North and maybe Lloyd Meek, these are some of the other names amongst the up-and-coming ruckman. And Darcy Cameron's been around for a while but has taken a bit longer to develop and maybe starved of opportunity, just playing incredibly consistent football. And I also wanted to shout out the coaching staff, because he's been given instruction to go behind the ball if we push it forward, and that's where a lot of his intercept marks are coming from. And I think it's going to be interesting as teams cotton on to how he's playing behind in order to intercept and then help us launch again from half back. But it's done wonders to his game, and I think I'm also really impressed. I was having a think about this tactically last year when Charlie Dean was in the side, and some of these experiments we were running in our defence, the ball was getting over the top way too easy. And I feel like with Darcy Cameron in there as a cover now, it's stopping a lot of those leaks and keeping us nice and set. So really good move for him individually, but also for the team.
It is a good point. One thing that has kind of changed with our game is just having him as a safety net going back with the flight and just showing a lot of courage as well, because he gets, he doesn't know what's coming from behind or on the side. So I just wanted to quote Jimmy Bartell as well over the weekend, talking about Darcy Cameron. He's not just a ruckman, he's a star of the game. I think we've undersold him for too long. So
good. Well, we've been pumping him up.
The media getting onto him as well, but just the kind of, he's the kind of player that just does his role and goes about his business without the stardom or the accolades, but hopefully a few of those to come for him later this year.
So before I touch on a few more individuals, because I think they deserve some credit as well, we mentioned the back line. So Fremantle had 62 inside 50 entries and scored 37% of the time, and that's because we had 16 defensive intercept marks, which is the most we've had on record from a Collingwood point of view. Billy Frampton was enormous. Darcy Moore, we know, was terrific again in his own right. And I just feel like it all really synergised perfectly, and we had a pretty strong defensive unit outside, of course, of Braden Maynard. How much do we see this effort as Fremantle's doing as opposed to our system and not allowing the Dockers to have their forwards leading to space or getting big opportunities inside 50?
I thought they were one of the most pedestrian-looking teams forward of centre that I've seen in recent times. And obviously, I laughed. They'd kicked 4 goals, 3, which was their score last week. I think in the first 25 minutes of the game, of course, they came out firing. But it was always going to be a question of can they sustain this for 4 quarters. And so where we were efficient and clearly played a game that was not so much about running up and down the field, but capitalising on our opportunities, they were way, way more fierce at the contest in the first half at least, and had far more flow forward. They just couldn't do anything with it, Lukey, and it was just as if they were getting their forwards excited, but then couldn't deliver on what was coming. And so that allowed us to intercept time and time again. So I think it's probably 70% our backline and 30% Fred. Do you have a different view?
Well, it was just funny. There were often times where they were on for all money, and then they just kind of stop, and you can hear the crowd, the moans, almost the Bronx cheers, and it's like you're kind of wondering how they're being coached to why would you want to stop when you're on? You've got players in space, and I know the way we play is when we get it on turnover, we're off to the races, and that's why you're getting guys like Bobby and Billy having big bags of goals. So there were times where you're like, oh, they're on here, and then they just stop. And I know our defence obviously played a part in that, but that's been a frustration of Freo fans for many years, and it's continued into this year. And they're calling for the sackings of coaches and things like that. So, it was just, again, funny as well. Like the first 10, 15 minutes, Freo were electric, and I was like, of course they're going to come out and do this tonight. But
when you got Alex Pearce kicking goals, well,
like you said, as the game goes on, are they going to be able to sustain it as we get our game going? And clearly they weren't. They did have a few little patches again in the second half where the momentum swung, and we sort of got flashbacks to the draw last year where they kicked 4 in a hurry. But I would commend our backline as well for holding on for that amount of inside 50s and letting that score in.
Come back, JL. We've got a spot for you in our coaching staff.
Seriously, though, as a coach who's very defensively... He was our defensive coach.
Yeah.
In that 18, 19...
period where we were doing good things some of the time. But can a coach like that live in the job in this day and age where we know that fast footy is basically the type of footy that wins you games and gets you into finals?
I think it might. It's just going to take a lot longer for that to settle and be disciplined enough for you to see it have sustained success in the long run. I think the type of game systems we're seeing now from sides, including us, this fast, free-flowing football where we're catching teams at the back, it's easier to adapt to as opposed to a bit more of a structured defensive setup as we're seeing with the Dockers and even the Saints to a degree as well.
Yeah, that's literally the next team I was going to reel off. But you look at the Pies, you look at the Giants, you look at the Hawks. It's the type of footy the crowd gets involved in, and you can harness that. But their crowd, to your point, was literally doing the opposite.
I think McRae's touched on this in wanting to bring a game style that brings the fans into the game. And I know, obviously, you want to win games, and it's all very serious business at the end of the day. But as a coach, you may only have so much time in the job. Isn't it of best interest to try and, get as many on your side as possible? And the fans are the number one, I guess, stakeholder in each club's, decisions they do make at the end of the day. So right now they're wanting him out because they've had enough. And as a fan, would you want to go watch that kind of game style every week? I know Saints fans often have the same frustrations. Whereas for us, I know we have, our heart attacks every week, but you wouldn't ask for a better club to support over the last few years than since Craig McRae's come in the game style that we do play.
So this is an interesting point. So this is to our friends at Saints TV. I saw them put something up on their socials today, and they said, do you actually care about the brand of football we play, or that we give ourselves a shot at winning games of football? So would you rather take the game on and play exciting football to lose by 50 points, or play to our strengths and give ourselves a chance at winning most games? It's a very interesting discussion that I'm grateful that we don't have to have as Pie supporters.
Yeah, 100%. I guess just to tie it off, exactly that point. Since Fly has come in, we've been probably one of the most known teams to attack the corridor, to try and make the most of scores from turnover and be efficient with the footy. I think that's the new gear that we've found this year so far. So just happy I'm not supporting a side that's putting 50, 60 points on the board. In fact, that's what our opposition are averaging this season. So a luxurious position to be in.
So looking at the other end of things, we had 34 inside 50s, which is the fourth lowest we've had on record. That's outside of the COVID games. Yet still managed to score 97 points in total and score per inside 50 65% of the time. Now, despite that, I felt at times we were wasting opportunities, especially late in that third quarter, as I'm sure you boys would be aware. But again, that might be just trauma from what we've seen against Geelong and also what we've seen against Fremantle last year. But looking at the grand scheme of things, we were certainly very efficient going forward, and it was led by the small forward charge. I mean, Jamie Elliott is playing career best football at 32 years of age, 6 goals, 9 score involvements, 5 marks inside 50, and he's kicked 17 goals in his last 5 matches. Bobby Hill was incredibly influential. He was the third highest ranked player on the ground, and he just brought some terrific pressure. Bo McCreary stood up, had his best game of the season. He was the 4th highest ranked player of the ground and produced an unbelievable running tackle when the Dockers were going forward late in that final term. So with no Mycheck in the side and having Membry as your key forward, it was so impressive to see that small brigade know that the chances weren't going to come thick and fast as they have in recent weeks, but when they did come, they were able to make the most of their opportunities.
Yeah, again, just being able to adapt our game style. And it was a bit dewy, I think, particularly in the first half. So that perhaps suited the Smalls with a lot of ground ball gets and being able to capitalise. I reckon the footy dried out a little bit, but they were certainly more suited to the conditions early on. In any case, our game style tactically clearly won. And it wasn't just the fact that we were setting up really well behind the ball, then incredibly efficient with the footy in hand and capitalising on most goal opportunities, except that Bobby Hill one. So I just have to mention that. That was hard to watch. But all things considered, the Pies deserving credible praise this week.
Yeah, and 15 goals, 7. So
yeah,
that's a very accurate night at the footy. I think obviously Elliott kicked 6 goals, but I think he had one miss. Where it was,
6 goals, 2 he kicked.
I would have loved him to get 7 because I think 6 was his career high, and it would have been nice for him to cap off with 7. You mentioned Bo McCreary there. We've touched on him past couple of weeks, but he came back with a bang. He might have been listening to us last week potentially because there was a few moments where I was like, God, this is what we've missed from Bo. A few moments running through the middle. Obviously the hard tackle at the end as well. So shout out to Bo for getting a bit more pep in his step and bringing back his game. Potentially with a few of the bigger names out, he might have had a bit more motivation to, I got to step up tonight and prove my worth. So shout out to Bo. But yeah, great night for the forwards, and always a good thing as a Collingwood supporter right now to know is if you got a couple forwards out or a couple forwards down on form, potentially you got 3-4 others ready to step up and take the mantle.
Oh, credit to Jack who put the onus on Bo in his part that caught my eye last week. So maybe he was certainly listening to him. Just again on Jamie, I think what's been undersold about what he's brought to the team in the last 12 to 18 months, apart from the clutch moments, of course, but his experience is on show. If you ISO viewed him inside 50 during any particular game, the spots he's getting to create opportunities or to get himself involved in those entries. I mean, it's unheard of, and I just feel like that's experience you can't exactly buy when you've got a young and upcoming forward line, for example, which we've had time in the last few years, of course. But knowing that you've got players that complement his game style, Marcus, but also knowing that Jamie himself can get involved in any way, however it's further up the ground. I mean, some of the goals he was kicking from outside 50, it was like he was getting the spring in his step again, but just knowing that you can find him in any position, that his forward craft is next level. That's why he's playing the footy he is right now.
He's got all the confidence in the world at the moment, and I think something I wanted to highlight for this match was that he got to play as a small forward despite McStay and Myercheck being out. I know he took some high-flying marks, but this was a game where Tim Membry just providing that little bit of extra structure alongside Coxie. I know it's a bit makeshift with the centre-half forward, full forward combo there, but I was impressed that with the two big forwards being out of the side, that we still maintained a bit of structure in our forward line, and I think that allowed a lot of the small forwards to continue their role as they would. So, fantastic return for Jamie.
Certainly, and you mentioned Schultz as well. He's part of that small forward brigade. I can't say that word today. And I should know. I used to spend years at Buckley's Brigade. Remember? That's probably where I got some of those badges from, actually.
Episode title, Brigade. The small brigade.
We've covered the forward line and the back line. I want to quickly touch on the midfield. We mentioned that we really did struggle at certain times of this match with the grunt and losing the clearances quite considerably. But what a luxury it is, boys, to know that you've got somebody waiting in the wings that can play as a pure inside midfielder, that can come in when we're missing some troops and deliver one of the best performances he has in his career, at least statistically, that is. And that was Jack Crisp, who finished with 29 touches, 6 tackles, 18 contested possessions, 2 goals, 6 score involvements, 700 metres gained. So it was rated as his best game of his entire career from a statistical point of view. But he had 7 clearances, which was obviously pivotal for us going forward. His running power both ways was absolutely exceptional, and you just felt like he was everywhere once he got himself involved in the game.
Is that the pie that caught your eye?
Well, I guess you have to say so now.
This must be the longest pie that caught your eye segment we've ever had. We've just gone and fused the analysis.
No, Darcy Cameron.
Oh, yeah, Darcy Cameron.
It was Darcy Cameron.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Crisper for the 3 votes, I reckon, this week. He was that good. And in terms of his two-way running, and he plays big boy football when he gets his opportunity in the guts. And to have his highest rated game
officially champion data rated
ever.
His highest rated game ever.
Wow, yeah.
Ever.
So to do that a week after having probably one of the worst games he'll ever remember, despite having some very humorous shots on social media to make good of what was a really, really tough end to the game. It just says so much about the guy, and I just love that last goal that he kicked. It was just the icing on the cake after he flashed another beautiful one with that fake on his left foot. So to hit the scoreboard in and under and really do a roll just shows that if we do have some injuries later in the season, he's always consistent and dependable.
Yeah, and I feel like despite, obviously we all forgive him for missing the shot, but I feel like it really stuck with him throughout the week, and wanted to make amends for it, knowing the kind of guy he is and the love he has for the club. And obviously he's done so many great things for us, but I feel like it really would have hurt him that he not only missed it but kind of shanked it and didn't give himself a chance with it. So it was funny seeing the stuff on social media, and then
he embraced it pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah, I just feel like deep down he would have been like, I want to make it up to everyone, and he come out knowing we've got a few big guns out and just able to take charge in that midfield and get back, I guess, to the Jack Crisp of old. When he's at his best, that is at his best, playing in the midfield and doing those kind of numbers and kicking a couple goals as well. So it was good to see for him. I feel like I mentioned it on the immediate reaction after the game. I felt like he's just lowered his colours a touch this year. Felt like we haven't needed him as much, and we've had other guys stand up, but it was good for him to have his kind of breakout game for this season.
So should we see him play some more inside midfield time this year, knowing what he's capable of?
Well, when we had the quiz the other week, wasn't it 21-22 that he won the BNF?
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure he played a lot of inside footy over those 2 seasons. So there's no question that that's probably where his best football has been played. I think we're just in a luxurious position where, based on the depth of the side on any given week, he can move around like many of our players. So I think that's on paper where he plays his best footy, Nico. It's just a case of whether he gets the opportunity, because he can go to a halfback or a wing as well.
What do you think, Luke? Do you think he deserves some more attendances at centre bounces?
Yeah, I think so. If depending on Nick's situation, injury wise, and kind of managing him through if he's still going to be playing. A few other guys, obviously Sidebottom, I think only had the 7 disposals and got subbed out. I don't know if he was just kind of managing himself through the game as well. And probably was another name that they might have wanted to actually rest, and just probably is it overkill to have him out as well. So obviously you want to play guys where they play their best, and Crisper obviously plays his best in the middle. So I think getting him in there a bit more, and I guess sharing the load in there at the moment with the luxury of players that we do have that can go through there. Another one, like I thought Bo, I don't know the numbers, but felt like he had a few centre bounce attendances and able to have a bit more impact on the game just by being in there and showing a bit of his grunt and toughness. So we have a luxury at the moment with the midfield. So when we get smashed in clearance the way we did against Freo, we want to bring that back and get a bit more on a certain assertiveness in there in the coming weeks.
Well, we'll certainly be expecting a couple of those big names back this week, you would think. Anything else from this game, gents, or we wrapped that one up pretty well? I think.
I'm pretty happy with that, I reckon.
Yep.
It's a win that's not going to be like on the highlight packages, I guess, or memory banks, but a win that shows how tough and commendable this team is, and how, I guess, a little glimpse of the future without a Pendles and Sidebottom running things, moving into the next few years. But yeah, just a win that we'll probably look back and go, that was an important one that we just needed to get on top of.
Sorry, final point for me was that these are the sort of wins, maybe last season or the season before, like, yeah, we come from behind, but it's like, why couldn't we just stay in front or get in front? And I feel like we're seeing the next version and an embodiment of that, because yes, there could have been 4 goals piled on by Freo in the last 10 minutes, but we didn't let that happen this time. And we still had some young players running around, and I think it's really exciting that guys like Lockie Sullivan, Ed Allen, Oleg wasn't particularly on the ground for that long, but these guys who are the next generation coming in and playing a role and looking at home despite a lot of other senior players not on the park. So it's exciting times to know that transition's actually at play despite our premiership window being open. And at the other end, our 30-plussers are just absolutely firing. So may it continue.
Lids off. All right, let's get to your votes then, please, from Thursday night.
Back to me. Yep. I'm going to go 1 vote for DC for reasons outlined by you. Nico, I'm going to go 2 votes for Billy and 3 votes to Crispy.
Lovely.
1 for DC, 2 for Crispy, and 3 for Elliot for a career equaling best night. He deserves
Same
3.
trio. Pretty tough to kick 6 goals and get 1 vote, but I'm doing it for Jamie Elliott. 2 for DC, 3 for Chris. I think it was a pretty obvious 3 vote.
I know he kicked 6, but it felt like he went from 1 goal to 5 without doing I know he obviously kicked the goals, but it was just like, he's got 5?
Well, he was, so that whole Schultz thing where Jamie Elliott marked and he was going back after that sort of surpassed. He was lining up, I think, for his 5th at the time, and even I was with my mates. I'm like, wait, he's going for number 5 here? Yeah. 3 goals in the last quarter, Jamie Elliott.
Yeah. So I feel like he's had great second halves this season. I feel like he's really made an impact when we've needed, and I feel like his second halves have been like 2 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals for the half. So great. Obviously, we've touched on him already, but just great to see, because I honestly, there was, over the past couple of years, there were times where I thought he was at the point of nearly getting close to retiring. So it's like he's got a second win right at the end, and may it continue.
What about his goal from the spot?
And that
spot. Yeah. Sorry, anyway. Dan's getting upset. Let's chuck the headphones on. We're going to get to SpeakPie, our new favourite segment. We really love listening to the fans and their reactions to the games post-match, so keep an eye out on our socials, because Lukey will be right onto it as soon as the game's done for you to get your immediate reactions. We had a lot more come through, so really do appreciate all the work that he's done by our lovely fans to get these in. So I've got a few to play for you all today, and we'll see how these go. Again, I haven't listened to these before, so we'll wait and see. The first one I've got here is Andreas, who is the... he runs Black and White United. You might have seen on YouTube. So shout out to him. Let's see what Andreas had to say for us on SpeakPie, our first one of the day.
Best thing about that win was the fact that, again, another game, every single time we're challenged and we're able to respond and adapt to that game situation and respond perfectly. That's exactly what McRae wants us to do. He's playing chess while the others don't know what they're doing. It's fantastic to see. Love the show, boys. Keep it up.
Thank you, Andres. That was nice.
Very good.
So, yes.
Chess.
Yep. Apparently so.
I like that. Yeah.
We now have Eleni. So thank you, Eleni, for sending in your SpeakPie.
By this round, they had set us up to fail and start chasing our tails again. We've had 4 interstate games and we've played a number of the top 8 finishes from last year. So, how's that going? Dare we dream, Pies family? Dare we dream? Up the Maggies. Woo!
There we
I
go.
thought there was a bit of rhyme at the start. Fail
Just
and
going into a bit of a poem.
I thought we were going for that, but no, very good.
Very nice. This one's from Joseph. Now, this is the same one that gave us the Geordie DeGoey trade slander last week. He's written here, Joseph, again, no Geordie hate this time. So let's see what he's got to say. Thanks, Joseph.
And they got Mason
Oh
Cox,
my God.
Checkers and them and Bree, the real big 3. They gave up Guinea because they needed change. And you got to say his name is Elliot. I'm talking about the man on the Magpies, Jamie. I'm asking you to say his name.
Oh, that's gold.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
We might need a awards night at the end of the year where we rank the
pick
best.
our best one.
Oh, I reckon, yeah, we've got to get some people on the show over the phone. If they've been good contributors to SpeakPie, that's probably first place so far.
That
I
is
reckon.
right up there at the moment from Joseph, just getting on the trend nicely. Who have we got here? Let's listen to what Phil had to say. So thank you, Phil.
Hey boys, gusto to you, which is a bit of a Hamish and Andy reference. So hopefully a few of you, if not all of you, get it. You'd be on par with them in terms of podcast quality. So keep up the good work. Yeah, great game by all the boys. I think everyone really contributed. Obviously, the small forwards had a standout game, but all the mids and the backs especially really held up. I was very, very confident every time they went into the forward 50, which was actually quite a lot, that one of our tools would gobble it up and get it out of there. So, yeah, really great by everyone. Bit shocking what happened to Shooter, but my old man actually bumped into a few of the boys the next morning, including Shooter as well as the Dacos brothers and IQ. He said he had a chat with Shooter and he said he was feeling pretty good, so that's good to hear. Right. Although shame he'll miss the next game. He couldn't. My old man also couldn't figure out the selfie function on his phone. So apparently Nick, who was probably pretty used to this, stepped up and said, "Oh, I'll take it for you." And so got a great shot of all the boys with my old man. So go the Pies, and the lid is off.
Okay,
we want to see that photo.
Yeah, send it through. Looks like Phil's old man's the way to go for our sources here. Shooter's going to be all right.
I reckon he'll be saying that to most that ask, just quietly.
Well, you never know.
Well, look, again, as was put, like the concussion protocols are the protocols, but I'm hoping he's back after one stint on the sidelines. More importantly, Gusto.
I have not heard, I mean, obviously it's a Hamish and anything, but
no.
Let us know if you've heard of that. He was hoping someone
at least
got
we're
it.
on equal, podcasting.
Apparently so. That's good.
Yes, so
we'll take it.
Must be doing something.
Let's do Jake here. Thank you, Jake.
Pies Nation, how are we? A bit of a late finish for a Thursday night, but what do you do? Man, what a roller coaster of a game. Started very slow, very, very slow. I thought we were going to struggle this whole game, but half-time came and we just took advantage and we done it. Like Jamie with the 6 goals, honestly, thought he was on track for 10. Bobby was it 3 or 4? Honestly, the boys are good. Good to see like Markov in the squad. he done excellent. Ned Long, excellent. Poor shooter, man. I honestly thought he was dead to the world when he had that arm up in the air. And then, especially when he got up and collapsed straight away. That's a concussion protocol, 100%. But honestly, we played like Pendles, Checkers, De Go still in the squad. I'm not saying we don't need him, but we've done good without him. I can't complain. Like I said, we started slow, but we took control, and that's what we want every week. Boys, lids off. Remember, don't forget that. All right, I'll catch you later.
Jakey, is it Jake?
Jake, yep.
Leading the number of entries for SpeakPie.
Yes. He wanted to be a regular.
Yes,
So
true to his word.
he's true to his word at the moment. What did you think of Oleg's inclusion last week? Were you surprised he was named?
Well, I haven't followed, I guess, his form across the VFL and how he's been going. It was nice to see him. I don't know where he fits into things going forward, but it was a shame he just didn't get a lot of game time to really showcase himself. I don't know if he backs it up with a selection this week.
Doubt it.
I do think he's a good sub option.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously, he was so pivotal for us in 23. I just don't know if we're playing the same brand of footy that gets him back into this side.
I think he's unfortunately like Johnny Noble, the type of guy who takes a step back due to having Perryman and Dan Houston in the team now. It's just made his, his cause a lot harder. And with Josh moving to halfback as well, we've got some great halfbacks. But look, coming back to Jake, I love the point about you didn't really notice who we were missing. Maybe in the first term we weren't particularly clean around the contest, but great sign of a mature team being able to have that next man up mentality.
We've spoken in years gone by when a Pendles misses or a Steele misses how much it has hurt the side on field. So you're absolutely spot on. It's nice to see that that's not relied upon as such. A couple more to wrap up. Let's do Patrick here. So thank you, Patrick, for yours.
G'day, boys. Yeah, pretty happy with the win. Little concern, Dacos with a pec strain, more out with the shoulder, and Schultz having half of his brain knocked out of his skull. But yeah, how do you reckon we're going to replace that?
Who are you talking to?
The Dal has just come in very late.
Is that the missus or is
I
that,
don't
or is
know.
that
Thinks
mum?
Patrick's talking to himself.
That's awesome.
Just getting a bit too enthused about the
He was
Magpies.
real serious there, really concerned about
He had another
these.
minute in him and he's been cut off.
Love that he still hit send.
I know, I thought,
Respect that.
that's
Thank
good.
you.
You got to cared to try it again, but
There were a couple of potential injury concerns that came out of that. I didn't hear much
Nakos or
about
Jakos for pec strain?
Nick.
Nick.
well,
Oh,
'cause
really?
I thought it was his hip.
Me too.
But then they did ask him, I think, post game, and he said
That's what we said,
He said
yeah.
it was a pec strain, so I was a bit confused with him as well. And that's
Is
why
he playing funny buggers?
I think he's battling a few things, or he's
know.
because they were working on his hip. I thought
Yep.
when he was on the bench a few times, so and he was kind of doing the old,
Well, he trained properly today, apparently, so that's a good sign. But yeah, all right, we'll have to wait and see. Well, thanks for that, Patrick. I hope we haven't caused you too many issues.
What are you talking?
Let's finish with Steve. So thank you, Steve.
He can kick this, Crisp. He can kick this. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. The Crisper may not have got the points after the siren last week, but if he didn't play, we don't get the 4 tonight. Just love him. That game was a perfect reflection of both clubs. Gritty, on-the-road performance, 5-day break, multiple stars missing, backs against the wall, get the job done. Versus a pathetic football club that have achieved nothing for 30 years. Hey, what about Bo? Right in your face, Jack. Have some of that. He better be the pie that caught your eye. He better be. Oh, and Schultz, he's gone from a lemon to limoncello. Anyway, I've been Steve. You've been listening to Pies Nation Speak Pipe, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold.
Well, that might go to number one.
Oh, gee, I tell you what.
Love the energy there.
That
For
was-
anyone who's going to contribute, that is the good gear, Nico.
That was real Bruce
I was about to say that.
McAvaney's vibes.
Special.
Delicious.
Oh, well, we better make sure Jack listens to that one.
Little drive-by
Give
there.
it
That
a little
was
bit
very
of a
good.
serve. So
We're always open for feedback,
Yes.
and good, bad, indifferent.
Yeah.
If you have anything you want to throw
Please.
directly at us, this
Please.
is the best time to do it.
absolutely. All right, well, that was our SpeakPie. That was awesome. That was really good.
Getting
So-
better week on week,
It
more
really
people
is.
getting confident, and those immediate reactions just teleport us back to the win straight after the game. So
100%.
fantastic.
So keep getting involved. Let's move to our guess the margin. So 14 points was the final margin. You haven't done it, Lukey,
I
have you?
haven't done it. I have. How it go? Let's jump to guess the crowd.
Okay,
And let me
all
quickly
right.
get onto it because that was one thing I did.
No worries. Only something we've been doing for 4 years, but that's okay. We'll move on to guess the crowd, and we've got Kira here by the
Kira.
looks of things. Do you know roughly how far off she
She was
might
about
have been?
it was 47,780, and I think she was 47,835.
Okay. Geez, good crowd for Perth on a Thursday night. We really do bring it, especially a Freo home game, Marcus.
Oh, we turn up no matter where and what night of the week. We don't care. Just take the day off the next day and
Yeah,
pencil in the annual leave. And
yeah, that's it. Very
if
good.
you've got work on, yeah.
All right.
Work is secondary to Collingwood. That's
Always.
always.
All right, well, let's give Kira a call as our next Guess the Crowd competition winner.
Hello, boys. Go Pies.
Hey, Kira, welcome to the Pies Nation podcast. And thanks for being our Guess the Crowd competition winner for this week. Well done.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Now, we always like to know the method and how you got to the number you did. Any particular factors into getting your crowd number this week?
This one was actually a complete guess.
Okay.
I do usually say if there's a milestone or a player that's maybe missing out, I'll incorporate them numbers into it somehow. But this one was just an absolute stab in the dark.
Oh, well, very good. Sometimes they're the best way to go about it if you get a complete guess. So, well done. Now, how did you view Thursday night's game? It was a little bit of a weird one at times, but we were able to get the 4 points.
I was actually at work, so I listened to it on the radio. I haven't even had a chance to watch the replay. And it's really stressful listening to it on the radio because you can't see where the ball is, and you can't see who's around it. But I was quietly confident for a majority of the night, to be honest. I didn't think we'd lose it. I really didn't. We were fine.
G'day, Kira. It's Marcus here. Thank you for joining us. So you're telling us that you've listened to the match, but you haven't had a chance to watch it. When are you going to find time this week, and what does that look like for you?
I might do like a quarter a night over the next few nights.
I like it.
I did not have the time over the weekend, and when I got your message, I was like, oh, God, I'm going to have to tell them that I haven't even watched it. It's embarrassing. What a horrible Collingwood supporter I am.
Hello, Kira. It's Luke here. Congratulations. I was about to ask you, you sounded quite excited when I sent the message through. Have you been a regular on the Guess the Crowd predictions, or was this one of your first times?
And I'd actually forgotten that I'd entered this week.
Yeah.
Because I'd just done it. I was about to start work. I just chucked a few numbers in there, and I got your message. I've never got a message on X before. I didn't even know how to open it, and I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Rightio.
Who's this stranger messaging me? Well, that's good. In terms of, we like to sort of touch on games, I guess, memorable games or memorable moments that you've seen over your time. I know you missed this one visually, but sort of do you want to touch on some other games you may have been to or you've watched on the telly or listened to on the radio as well? Some memorable games for yourself?
Well, I'm actually a South Australian supporter, and I was lucky enough to get to, and I wrote it down, round 19, 2023 against Port Adelaide.
I was there as well.
Oh, magical. What is this shit? An Adelaide Oval full of sad Port Adelaide supporters. There is nothing better.
It felt like we'd won a final that night, honestly, and they thought they were, about to go top of the table, Port Adelaide, and it'd been a big week in the media with Ken Hinkley and that. So that was a very special night to be there as a Collingwood supporter.
Yep.
No, it was very impressive. Now, let me ask you, Kira, from what you've seen so far this year from these Pies, and You touched on that game in 2023, and we all know how that one turned out. But are you seeing many similarities? Do you feel like we can have a big chance to go all the way this year?
Yeah, I really do. Yeah, I'm the lid's not off, but I'm quietly very confident we'll make it a fair way. I love the fact that we're kicking some big scores and everybody's kind of having a massive impact on the team, and I hope so. I really hope so. 2023 was fun. I want to do it again.
Just one more from me, Kira. I just was seeing on your profile, you've got Finn, the horse. Is that your horse with the Collingwood hat on? I'll just show the boys the photo.
Yeah, no, I did do something on my Instagram ages ago. If Collingwood won, might have been 2022, if they won prelim, I would register her as Finn McRae, but they didn't win it. So I haven't done that yet.
That's very impressive. I love the passion, though. That's very good. Well, let me ask you before we do wrap up here. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see there's a scarf behind Marcus and Luke with a bunch of player badges that I've collated over the years. If you had a scarf that you needed to include some badges of, which players do you feel like would be suitable for your scarf?
Oh, my God. I'm quite old, so
We'll take retro.
I was always a big Martin Clark fan back in the kind of 2007, 2008.
You are not going to believe this, but one of the badges on this scarf is in fact Marty Clark. I don't know how, and I don't know if you've got some type of vision. So obviously he was pretty popular.
I had bought him. He was so much fun to watch play. It was great.
All right, very good. Oh, we might have to try and get Marty on at some point if he's obviously such a cold hero. Kira, it's been wonderful to have you on as our Guess the Crowd competition winner this week. Hopefully we get to be celebrating some more Pies wins this year, but thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the podcast. It's great.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kira.
Kira.
Thank you, Kira.
Bye.
That was Kira joining us as part of our Guess the Crowd competition. That could be you if you guess the crowd closer, so keep an eye out for the social media posts that Luke puts out prior to each game. Have your best shot at it, and if you are closest to the pin, that will be you joining us as part of our Guess the Crowd competition winner.
To be sure, Nico. Who would have thought? Marty Clark.
I said before we came on today that, I don't know what Marty Clark's doing there amongst all those. Look at there's all Australians, premiership players, Brownlow medalists, and then you've got Marty Clark. But obviously, with what Kira said, he's somebody that resonated with a lot of Pie supporters.
Good energy, Nico. I reckon when wins are chalking up and we get that sort of content on the fly, we'll take it.
Between SpeakPie and the Guess the Crowd, we love getting you all involved, so be sure to keep interacting the way you can. Have you got an update for us, Lukey?
Yeah, so we had two people get the margin, both on Instagram. I've got Ange, who I was just trying to remember if we did have her on the pod, but as a Guess the Crowd. But no, she was one of the reserves one of the weeks earlier this year. So shout out to Ange, who had the Pies by 14. So hopefully we'll get to have a chat with her at some point in the future. And JK Riley, 93, Pies by 14 as well. I was a little dirty, and I said this in my immediate reaction. I had us by 21, and we were up by 21 for a lot of that last quarter, and then it's 20, and just needed to go back our end and kick a point. No, Freo kick a goal, and 14 is my other margin I normally always do, and by 14. So.
You'll have to go wide with the 14 this week. All right, let's swing across into our VFL report. I said last week that this would be a pretty easy win, and that's exactly what happened. We destroyed the Bull Ants here to the tune of 75 points, Marcus.
Absolute drubbing, Nico. They looked second rate, the Bull Ants, and they have for some time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They just
haven't been around the mark for a long time.
Continuously struggling. Unfortunately, good for us this week. 23 goals, 13 we piled on. Our big forwards absolutely dominating. But without further ado, let's get to the surge.
Sunny conditions at Preston City Oval. The Pies need to restore their VFL credibility. Geez, that's harsh. Playing the winless Northern Bull Ants. The Pies had two debutants, and Tom Mitchell made his first appearance as part of 11 AFL-listed players. The Bull Ants are struggling and are looking for a repeat of last year's results, where they actually did beat us last year. So they were coming in feeling pretty good. But they opened the scoring to Northern Bullants, and then the Pies had to rally midway through the first term by getting on top of the centre clearances. Mitchell was heavily involved and got some effective clearances to send the Pies forward. Ryan Mason dominated the first half, kicking 3 goals. Charlie West stood out in the second half with some good contested marking and goal kicking. Other multiple goal kickers included Hayes, Marnie and Allegri. Leading by 62 points going into the final term, the Pies were too strong as the forwards punished opposition turnovers and dominated the aerial contests. West and Mason dominating once again inside forward 50. The Pies' defence, led by Parker, were solid all day. Charlie Dean, Sam Glover and Jacob Ryan provided plenty of run and intercept marking. However, they would have been disappointed to leak, he's put in quotation marks, 12 goals, giving the Northern Bullants their best score to date. The Pies controlled this game from start to finish, capitalised on opposition turnovers, and had a great spread of contributors across all lines. With the mid-season draft 18 days away, there should be some interest in many of the VFL-listed Pies players. They had to do what they had to do to win this game and looked comfortable for most of the match, given that the Bullants' average losing margin is 106 points.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That is...
I'm telling you, they're no good.
Awful.
They're no good.
Awful.
I can tell you from first-hand experience watching them, unfortunately, they are just not up to task. But anyway, can't take away from the Pies. 2 keynotes there with Tom Mitchell coming back for a half of footy, and then Charlie West is just incredible form, and he'd be playing in just about any other AFL side right now.
Yeah, look, he's averaging, I think, 3 or 4 goals a game and kicking very accurately. So if there's a selection that we might keep an eye on, I think we've been seeing this bubble and brew, and I actually don't mind that we haven't rushed him in if we don't need to. I think that what can happen, particularly with key position players, is that they might be standing out at VFL level, but then they take that jump and sometimes their confidence can take a dent. That said, if we do have any need for an extra toll against the Crows due to how we match up, he looks very, very good replacement for Brodie Myercheck, Nico. Yeah. Just a rough and tumble, old school type of forward. So I think he has probably deserved his opportunity.
Luke, Tom Mitchell played a half of footy, 10 touches, 6 clearances, which is positive. Do you feel like we might not be too far away from seeing him return to AFL action?
I read today he's 3 or 4 weeks off. And I think he said on his podcast when he does return via the VFL, it's going to be 3 or 4 hit-outs before he does come back. So he played a half. We're going to have to see that game time increase. I hope the VFL have no buys over the coming weeks just for him to make sure he does get that game time. And then once he is in a position where he is ready to play, the question is going to be, hopefully we'll still be in a blessed position with our injury list and midfield in cracking form. Does he get in? Does he find his way in? Obviously, we'd love to get him in there, and but the way I see it right now is it feels like if he gets in, it's because we've let ourselves down in the midfield or we've had injuries cruel us over the coming sort of 1 to 2 months. So I don't know. It's one of those tricky ones at this stage. Obviously, if he continues on in the VFL and he produces numbers that he was producing in the NEFL days and with the Swans and that, can't keep him out. But I don't know. Are we in a spot where he just isn't quite getting in no matter what at this stage?
Well, I think if he does get a solid 3-4 week spell under his belt, then I think an argument can be made about bringing him back or managing. Because if we are to continue managing some of our older players throughout the season, there will be a need at some point for him to come in. And I'd rather him have some AFL experience under his belt prior to finals, should we need to unleash him, knowing what he's done for us in September footy. The rumour I'm hearing is that he's planning to play against Hawthorn as our first match back, but I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. But we'll see how we go. Good to see you got some VFL time. So that's 3 games
18
away.
18 days away.
Yes.
I was looking at the fixture yesterday and I seen that Hawthorn was a Friday night,
nights.
May 30.
So who knows?
Quick. Well, I mean, it's not that quick turnaround, I guess. It's still a few weeks off, but maybe we're underselling how important he can still be for this midfield. The fact that we got destroyed in clearance against Freo, and we're going to come up against some pretty good midfields for the rest of the season. So a potential lever that we can pull still, having him on the sidelines.
So next VFL game, did you have that one for me?
Well, I was just going to say we have no buys in the next month, so he will get a run at it.
As
long as we can manage his minutes properly. We play GWS 10:05 a.m. on Saturday. Vic Park curtain raiser, get to the G afterwards.
Yep.
and we sit in 6th position. So nice little percentage booster for us, Nico. But going well, the VFL Pies with some names back.
Very good. 10:05 definitely feels like an early.
Reserves.
Under 19s
Early,
time.
yeah.
For the, VFL
Absolutely. Now, I was gloating that the VFLW Pies would get back on the winners list because we were playing Darebin. Unfortunately, we went down by 3 points to the Falcons, and I believe it was a late goal close to the siren. Oh, we got a phone call
Again.
That's twice now. They must know that we are
wrapping
recording.
up.
Who could be calling us? Now it looks like it was right down to the wire. They kicked a goal in the last minute, Darebin, to win the game. So unfortunate for the Pies girls that we were unable to get the 4 points. 3-8 to 3-5, that one at Preston City Oval. Our chance to bounce back comes after the VFL this Saturday, where we take on Box Hill over at Victoria Park. So we've got a 1-3 record, but we're only a couple of games outside of the top 6, so still plenty of time for us to turn things around in the VFLW. Now, before we wrap up, I said it last week, we're going to get a game back into things, but this one's more of an opinion-based game that I'd like your thoughts on. So
you can't get it wrong.
I guess not, but again, I'll let the social media comments.
The fans will tell us.
The fans will certainly tell us.
Yeah.
So I'm going to name 2 Collingwood players. I want you to tell me which one you would pick to kick a game-winning goal after the siren.
Jamie Elliott.
Well, we'll get to that. There's just a quick little exercise. There's about 4 or 5 little options I'm going to give you, and I'd just like to see what your opinions are. You don't have to agree with each other, by the way, but I'd just love to get your thoughts.
It's a healthy debate.
Healthy debate. So, Anthony Rocker or Travis Cloak?
After the siren.
I don't know. For some reason, I'd prefer Clokey. Just to go 50 out, go bang.
Shoes on the other foot for me, without a doubt. Depends how far out, mind you.
Where is there somewhere where these shots are coming from?
No.
Maybe we just say it's where Jack Crisp had his miss.
If you'd like, yeah.
Yeah. I'd love Clokey. Just
Yeah, I'll go Pebbles.
Very good. Scott Pendlebury or Steele Sidebottom?
I mean, no, I was about to say, when you said Pendles, I'm like, well, he proved it in the granny with the clutch goal, but then Sidey did as well, so you could have either. Right, I'd probably have to go Pendles.
Okay.
Just, I don't know, but it could go either way.
The Pendlebury, yep.
Yeah, easy.
Yep.
Okay. Dale Thomas or Bobby Hill?
That's an either way as well.
What goes into my mind when you're asking is like, are they on the run? Is it a set shot? Has to be. Is that right?
After the siren.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Daisy with the talk.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go Bobby.
Because?
I just love his set shot routine. I think he's a little bit less likely from further out, obviously, but just reckon 9 times out of 10 he hits the mark, and he's done it on the biggest day. So
Yeah, I'd go Bobby as
Bobby as well.
He's pretty reliable. He does have a mare every so often, but as in he did miss 2 on the weekend or against Freo. So, but normally dead eye, so I'll trust him.
I'll finish with this one: Chris Tarrant or Jamie Elliott, who have both done it after the siren to win a game for us in the years gone by.
was Taz against the Crows?
Yes.
Who we've
At
got
Amy
this week?
Stadium.
Who we've got this week? Okay, topical. I'm still going Jamie.
Yeah, you can't go past Billy. I don't
Obvious?
think. Yeah. He's proved it on multiple occasions. And he is I do like, you touched on routine. I love his routine, Billy. He'll normally, 90% of the time, it's going straight through. When he does miss, it's normally a bit of a shank that's happened. So, yeah. And he's proved he's still got distance in him. So,
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what
they were tough. There were a few tough ones there. You could,
We'll see what the
Rough
fans
hands.
have to say to that. Till then, though, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Of course, we'll have a preview of the Crows game to come later this week. But Marcus and Luke, thank you, boys.
Always good.
Thank you, and hopefully, continue on our winning ways.
Absolutely. Until next week, I've been Nicholas Sacco. You've been listening to or watching the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. We love all our listeners and viewers across Australia that enjoy the Pies Nation podcast, but we love our overseas viewers and listeners as well. And one of those that have gotten on board are the boys and girls over at the North Texas Devils in the US, who are looking for players to join their sides ahead of the 2025 season. Based in Dallas, Texas, and established back in 2020, they're hoping to bolster awareness of Australian rules football over in the US. And any of those listening or watching our podcast that are heading over to the US at some point this year, the one team for you to get involved with is the North Texas Devils. We'll give you all the information in our descriptions, I should say, across our podcasts and YouTube. But a great opportunity to get involved with some Aussie rules and teach the Yanks the best game in the world. And you can do so thanks to the North Texas Devils.